he often says he doesn't know about something major, or that he didn't have anything to do with something major, even though his name is on it. And as I say, if you actually listen to him, not the cuts that are in the media, and this is one of the reasons when I write about him, I often put the whole paragraph in there. He does not have a coherent train of thought. And that's different than in the past. And I can hear, even though I can't see this here, somebody would say, well, he was always all over the map. That's true. But first of all, it wasn't true in the 80s. It was true in 2016. But what he did do very well in 2016 is it was I thought of it kind of like impressionism. He gave you the right words and the right symbols so that you could get a sense of something, even if it didn't feel like an argument. He's not doing that now. Now it's just a litany of his grievances, and they're not necessarily in any kind of order. Anyway, all that to say, I don't think he's really the one behind what's happening in the administration. He cares about looking good. He cares about staying out of prison, and he wants lots and lots and lots of money. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. So if he's not really in charge of things, who is? There are three, I think, factions in the administration right now. And that's not to say they're exclusive. They do overlap in some ways, but it's very hard sometimes to watch what's happening with the undocumented immigrants and then turn around and see what's happening in a different part of the administration. And I think the reason for that is because there's different impulses. So the three groups I'm going to identify here are, first of all, what I would call the Project 2025 group. And those are the people who were associated with those who wrote Project 2025. And Project 2025, as you know, comes from the Heritage Foundation. They were the leading group of the more than 100 who participated in that. And they are Christian nationalists. They want to get rid of the U.S. government altogether, not just put Republicans where there used to be Democrats, get rid of the U.S. government, business, education, science, innovation, all of those things, because they feel that they have been tainted by this liberal, secular way of thought. So they want to get rid of all of it. So that's the Project 2025 people. And that's a lot of the executive orders you see coming out. So, for example, the idea of getting rid of words like gender, or words like, now I can't think of a single other one, gay, lesbian, diversity. Diversity is a big one because that really hit the sciences hard, because if you're looking at a diversity of answers, you're in real trouble on that one. So that's the kind of stuff you're seeing from them, sort of the social culture wars stuff, get rid of people that are in the federal government. This is Schedule F, which somebody asked me to define. Schedule F is an attack that Trump started at the end of his first term that reclassifies public workers, people who are working in the federal government, civil service workers. It reclassifies them so that, as you also probably know, since 1883, we have had a nonpartisan civil service. So what that meant was that it didn't matter if you were a Republican or a Democrat if you went to work for the government, with the exception of a very few, I think it's about 4,000 political positions at the very top. So that's going to be people like, a cabinet member. And 4,000 people in that upper staff, which are considered sort of the president's own picks. The rest of them, it didn't matter what your politics were. You could work for the government so long as you could do your job. And that starts in 1883. Well, Schedule F takes almost all of those employees and reclassifies them so that they can be fired for political reasons, and you can only pack those seats with political people. And so that's Project 2025, because their goal is to overturn democracy and put in place one very strong executive, one very strong president. And then once they have that very strong president, get rid of the equality that is a hallmark of democracy, get rid of rights for women, rights for Black and brown people, gender and religious minorities, and instead impose Christian nationalism. So that's what you're seeing there with the people who are what I would call Project 2025 people. And the person in charge of that in the White House appears to be Russell Vought, who is the director of the Office of Management and Budget. And you might sit there and think, why is that important? The Office of the Office of Management and Budget. There we go. OMB. The Office of Management and Budget is the one that disperses the monies that Congress has appropriated for something. So it's a pinch point, and that's exactly how Vogt has used it, is to pinch off money to places that he doesn't want money to go. And this is absolutely illegal and unconstitutional before somebody asks. And this is what Trump was impeached for the first time he was impeached in 2019 and then acquitted in 2020. He refused to disperse the monies that Congress had appropriated for Ukraine to fight back against Russia's attacks of 2014, the first time it invaded, at least in recent memory. It invaded a lot of times in the past too. Anyway, so that's the Project 2025 group. Then there's the what I would call the broligarchs, the tech bros. They're latecomers to MAGA, but they have made friends with the 2025 people or made common cause with them because they too want to get rid of the US government. And the reason they want to get rid of the US government is because they don't want regulations. They really hate the idea that the government can say to Elon Musk, for example, no, you can't explode your rockets in FAA territory or whatever, because they believe that they have a vision for the future that will significantly help humanity. And it will help humanity by getting rid of states, getting rid of, all sorts of, by creating this new technocracy. And also by Elon Musk wants us to get it to interplanetary travel. That I'm not going to go into today, but maybe someday. They believe that the government is standing in their way by requiring that they follow environmental laws, that they don't practice discriminatory hiring, that they have to pay taxes, all the things that they feel is standing between them and the ability to be as innovative and as creative as they would like. And you have people like Peter Thiel, who's also a billionaire, saying things like democracy and something, and capital. Basically, he wants to get rid of democracy. I'm sorry, I just did another long podcast, so I'm a little vague on some of my quotations, but the idea that you have to get rid of democracy because that's stopping the great men from doing what they could do if they weren't having to answer to the environment, for example. So you got those two groups, and they want to destroy the government. But now what's happening over here with immigrants and with the truly horrific stuff that is going on with undocumented immigrants and their rendition, not deportation back to their home countries, but their rendition to a prison, a notorious prison in a third country. That's a different group of people, and they appear to be led by Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who has this real intense desire to get rid of at least immigrants from American society. The limits of what Miller thinks are unclear to me, but he believes that having what he would call, I'm not going to say it, but having immigrants in our society is poisoning society, and it is imperative to get rid of them at all costs. And in order to do that, he requires an extremely strong state. So you got the two anti-staters, the one stater, but all of them can agree that if they have essentially a dictator in place, they can get what they want. And so this is the larger game behind what you're seeing. All right, now let me go ahead and pull these things apart a little bit. So